I never had a wife, said the virgin Mafia boss who protected a widow and her children, a deadly night, a small shop, a widow with 2 scared kids. Then he walks out of the rain, the virgin Mafia boss who swore he'd never take a wife. He says one thing: come with me if you want to live. Inside his fortress, safety feels like a cage. But the threat is bigger than bullets. A secret ledger hidden in a little music box could burn the city. And there's a traitor inside his own house, smiling while doors unlock. He's ice cold to the world, gentle only to her children. And suddenly, to her. Rules break, lines blur, enemies close in. If he claims her, every gun will point at them. If he lets her go, they all die alone. When the trap snaps shut and the kids become bait, will the man who swore, I never had a wife, break his vow to save them? Or watch the only family he's ever wanted vanish into the dark? Eva's hands trembled as she stared at the business card on the counter, its crisp white surface catching the dim light from outside. 3 simple rings. That's all it would take to summon a man who moved like a shadow and killed with mechanical precision. Her fingers ghosted over the raised text, feeling the subtle indentation of the phone number. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. Eva's head snapped up, her heart hammering until she recognized Mateo's careful footsteps. Mama? His voice was small, uncertain. Go back to bed, mi amor. She tried to steady her voice, but it wavered. I heard noises. He descended 2 steps, just enough for her to see his worried face. Was it bad men? Eva pressed her lips together, buying time to choose her words. Miguel had always handled the hard conversations. Everything's okay now, I promise. But the promise felt hollow. The baseball bat lay forgotten by her feet, and she could still smell gunpowder and rain in the air. The masked men's threats echoed in her mind. The book Miguel stole. What book? Miguel had been a numbers guy, good with accounts, but he'd never mentioned anything about stolen property. She climbed the stairs, guiding Mateo back to the bedroom he shared with Sofia. Her daughter was curled up with her favorite stuffed elephant, dark curls spilling across the pillow. Eva tucked the blanket around Mateo, noting how he positioned himself between the door and his sister, just like Miguel used to do with them. Did you see the man in the black coat? Mateo whispered. Eva's throat tightened. Of course he had seen Adrian Moretti, the man whose name made hardened criminals flinch. He helped us? Like a superhero? A bitter laugh almost escaped her. No, mijo, not a hero. She smoothed his hair back. Just someone who happened to be passing by. But that wasn't true either. Nothing about tonight had been coincidence, not the timing of the attack, not Moretti's arrival, and certainly not the card burning a hole in her pocket. Back downstairs, Eva moved through this, bodega like a ghost, checking windows and doors she'd already locked. The security system's soft beeping provided little comfort. She paused at the register, where Miguel had installed the silent alarm. Had he known something like this would happen? The street outside was quiet now, but the rain continued its relentless drumming. Eva gathered the shattered glass from where the men had broken in, her movements mechanical. Each shard reminded her of how quickly safety could splinter. She found herself at Miguel's desk in the back office, fingers trailing over the familiar scratch in the wood where Sofia had once drawn with permanent marker. The drawer stuck slightly, just as it always had, before revealing neat stacks of paperwork. Miguel had been methodical about everything. Receipts, invoices, inventory lists. Nothing looked like an encoded ledger. The music box caught her eye, tucked behind a stack of papers. It was Miguel's gift to her on their first anniversary, a delicate wooden thing that played Clair de Lune when opened. She'd always thought it was strange, him choosing such a melancholy tune for a love gift. Eva lifted it carefully, remembering how he'd insisted she keep it in the office rather than at home. The melody felt different now, heavy with secrets. She turned it over, studying the base where Miguel had carved their initials. The wood felt uneven under her fingertips. A noise from the street made her freeze, just a cat knocking over a trash can, but her pulse spiked anyway. Through the office window, she could see the spot where Moretti's SUV had been. The way he'd moved, efficient, lethal, yet stopping dead when he saw Sofia, a man of contradictions. I never had a wife, people whispered about him. Some said it was because he was married to his work. Others claimed he'd lost someone and sworn never to marry again. But Eva had seen something else in his eyes when he looked at her children. Understanding, maybe even pain. She glanced at her phone. It would be so easy to dial that number to accept his protection. But Miguel had taught her that nothing came free in their neighborhood, especially not from men like Moretti. The protection he offered would come with invisible strings, drawing them into a world Miguel had clearly tried to shield them from. Yet he'd also tried to protect them by keeping secrets, and look where that had gotten them. Eva sank into Miguel's chair, the music box clutched to her chest. The ledger these men wanted. Could Miguel have hidden it somewhere obvious? Somewhere so simple no one would think to look? She thought of his attention to detail, his love of puzzles and hidden meanings. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight. In a few hours, she'd have to open the bodega like nothing had happened, serve coffee to regulars who'd ask about the broken window, help Mateo with his math homework, read Sofia her favorite story about the brave princess. Normal life, balanced on the edge of a knife. She set the music box down and pulled out her phone, adding Moretti's number but not saving it, just in case. The card she tucked into Miguel's old leather wallet, which she always kept close. The baseball bat she propped within easy reach of the register. Small preparations, probably useless against the storm she could feel gathering, but it was all she had, besides a mysterious ledger she couldn't find and the protection of a man whose help might be more dangerous than the threat itself. Eva's fingers trembled as she climbed the narrow stairs to the apartment above the bodega. The wooden steps creaked despite her careful footsteps, each sound making her wince. Through the thin walls, she could hear Mrs. Rodriguez's television next door, the familiar drone of late-night telenovelas providing an oddly comforting backdrop. In the kids' room, Mateo had kicked off his blanket again. Eva tucked it back around him, her hand lingering on his chest to feel its steady rise and fall. Sofia clutched her worn stuffed elephant, dark curls spilling across her pillow. They looked so peaceful, so unaware of the danger lurking outside their door. The old toolbox sat in the hall closet, buried under winter coats and forgotten umbrellas. Eva pulled it out, the metal scraping against the floor. Miguel had been particular about his tools, each one having its proper place. But as she rifled through the contents, she found only the expected. Screwdrivers, wrenches, a half-empty box of nails. Something shifted at the bottom. A music box, its wood dulled with age and sporting a crack along one side. Eva turned it over in her hands, remembering how Miguel used to wind it up for Sofia. The melody of Greensleeves tinkled out, slightly off-key now. She almost set it aside, but something caught her eye. A tiny M etched beneath the spring mechanism. Miguel's initial, or something else. Without quite knowing why, she slipped it into her pocket. The weight felt significant somehow, like a secret waiting to be decoded. The lights flickered once, twice, then plunged the apartment into darkness. Eva's heart stopped. The steady hum of the refrigerator died, leaving only the sound of rain and distant traffic. Even Mrs. Rodriguez's television went silent. Heavy boots thundered up the metal stairs outside. Not the fire escape this time, but the main entrance. More than 2 sets. Heavier weapons, based on the metallic clinking. Eva's hands shook as she pulled out her phone. Moretti's card felt worn already from her nervous handling. She punched in the number, letting it ring exactly 3 times before hanging up as instructed. The phone felt slick in her sweaty palm as she waited. Seconds stretched like hours. Then came the distinctive rumble of multiple engines, the squeal of tires on wet asphalt. Smoke began curling under the door, not fire, but tactical cover. The sounds of precise violence filtered up, the meaty thud of bodies hitting pavement, controlled bursts of gunfire that had to be warning shots, sharp cries of pain. Eva crouched by the window, keeping the kids' room between her and the door. Through the rain-streaked glass, she watched Adrian Moretti move like a force of nature. He caught one attacker's arm, his knife finding the tendons with surgical precision. The man's weapon clattered to the ground along with his howl of pain. 2 more shots rang out, carefully placed to force the remaining attackers back without killing. A display of power rather than bloodthirst. Sofia's cry pierced the chaos. Before Eva could move, Adrian was already halfway up the stairs. He swept into the apartment with lethal grace, but his expression shifted when he saw Sofia's tears. He scooped her up with surprising gentleness, his massive frame curling protectively around her tiny body. "Shh, Malenki," he murmured, the Russian endearment incongruous from such a dangerous man. "You're safe now." His men filtered in behind him, their questioning looks at this display earning a flat response. "I never had a wife, and I'm not starting tonight. This is protection, nothing else." Eva gathered Mateo, still groggy from sleep. "We're not going anywhere with you. This isn't a negotiation." Adrian's voice was firm, but not unkind. "There's no safety here anymore. They'll keep coming. I won't be a pawn in whatever game this is. This isn't a game." His eyes met hers, intense and unwavering. This is survival. Outside, his driver already had an SUV idling. The interior smelled of expensive leather and gunpowder. Ava clutched her children close as they pulled away from the only home they'd known. In the passing sodium lights, she studied Adrian's profile. The sharp jaw, the slight scar above his eyebrow, the way his hands remained perfectly steady on the wheel despite the night's violence. Sophia had fallen asleep against her chest, small fingers curled into Ava's shirt. With practiced care, Ava slipped the music box under the blanket someone had draped over her daughter. First light, she whispered to herself, a promise and a plan. We leave at first light. The city blurred past, its familiar streets becoming increasingly unknown. Eva tried to memorize the turns, but exhaustion made her thoughts sluggish. The events of the night felt surreal. The attacks, Adrian's intervention, the way he'd transformed from killer to protector in the space of a breath. Questions burned in her mind. What was in the ledger that made it worth all this? Why had Miguel kept so many secrets? And Adrian Moretti, was he truly offering protection, or was this another trap, silk-lined, but a cage nonetheless? The music box pressed against her leg through the blanket, its presence both comfort and concern. The tiny etched M seemed to pulse with significance. Miguel had always loved his puzzles, his little codes. Had he left her a message, a breadcrumb trail to follow? Raindrops raced across the windows, distorting the city lights into streaks of color. Eva's fingers found Miguel's wedding ring on its chain around her neck, twisting it absently. The simple gold band had always represented safety, stability. Now it felt like the key to a mystery she never wanted to solve. The SUV glided to a stop at 1:40 a.m. before an imposing stone building, a deconsecrated chapel with Gothic arches reaching into the misty night. Adrian guided them through a side entrance where sleek, modern security systems contrasted with the aged architecture. Biometric locks clicked open under his touch. "Welcome to St. Augustine's," he said, his voice echoing slightly in the renovated space. "Upper floors are living quarters. You'll be safe here." Two figures emerged from the shadows, a man with watchful eyes and a woman whose stance screamed military training. "Luca handles perimeter. Bianca runs house security," Adrian explained. "They're the only staff I trust with this location." The elevator opened to a minimalist penthouse, clean lines, neutral colors, and bulletproof windows offering a commanding view of Brooklyn. Everything spoke of careful planning rather than luxury for its own sake. Eva clutched Sophia closer as Adrian led them down a hallway. "Guest suite," he said, opening a door to reveal an elegant room with an adjoining children's space. The kids' area looked like a high-end nursery, complete with nightlights, stuffed animals, and child-sized furniture. "You keep a children's room ready?" Eva asked, suspicious. "My housekeeper maintains basics for emergency guests." Adrian's expression remained neutral. "There are clothes in the dresser that should fit." Eva lifted her chin. "This is not charity." "It's triage," he replied flatly, then turned and disappeared down the hall toward what appeared to be a study. Once the kids were settled on the small beds, Bianca appeared with fresh towels. Her efficiency had a gentleness to it, but her eyes held warning. "There's something you should know," she said quietly, glancing at the door. "Your husband, he was involved with Victor Melnick's organization, money laundering." Ava's throat tightened. "Miguel wouldn't." "He did, but then he tried to make it right. He flipped, gathered evidence against Victor, was supposed to hand it to someone in Moretti territory, maybe even our organization directly. Before the handoff." Bianca's expression softened. The car crash wasn't an accident. The room seemed to tilt. Eva steadied herself against the wall. "The ledger? Proof of Victor's operations? Enough to destroy him, or frame Moretti if it falls into the wrong hands. That's why both sides want it so badly." At 2:05 a.m., Adrian called Eva to his study. Multiple monitors showed security feeds from around the city. He pointed to one showing her street. 2 black sedans circling the block like sharks. "You can't go home," he said. His voice was firm but not unkind. "Not until I cut off the head that's hunting you." Eva watched the cars make another pass. The reality of her situation crashed down. She couldn't just walk away from this. Any attempt to escape Adrian's world would put her children directly in Victor's crosshairs. Her fingers found Miguel's music box in her pocket. What secrets had he hidden? What truth had cost him his life? By 2:20 a.m., exhaustion won out over anxiety. Ava tucked Mateo and Sophia into their beds, their faces peaceful in sleep despite the night's trauma. She kissed their foreheads, breathing in their familiar scent like an anchor to normalcy. A sound drew her to the hallway. Voices from below. She followed the grand staircase down to the chapel proper. The space retained its sacred atmosphere, despite the renovation, moonlight filtering through stained glass to paint the floor in jewel tones. Adrian knelt alone before the altar, his powerful frame somehow smaller in the vast space. His whispered Italian prayer carried in the perfect acoustics. Santa Maria, Madre di Dio, prega per noi peccatori. Eva froze, struck by the contradiction, this feared man who dealt in violence, asking Mary to pray for sinners. His shoulders were bowed as if under invisible weight. The moonlight caught his profile, highlighting a vulnerability she hadn't thought him capable of. The wooden floor creaked beneath her foot. Adrian's head turned slightly, but he didn't rise or stop his prayer. Ava backed away silently, the image of his kneeling figure burning in her mind. In her room, she found clothes laid out, practical items in her size. The attached bathroom held high-end toiletries and a medical kit. Everything spoke of meticulous preparation, of someone used to anticipating every need and contingency. Ava showered quickly, the hot water failing to wash away her churning thoughts. Miguel's secret life, Victor's hunters, Adrian's unexpected complexity, the ledger that made her family a target. Each piece clicked together like a deadly puzzle, with her children caught in the middle. She changed into the provided clothes, soft pants, and a long-sleeved shirt that fit perfectly. Another reminder of Adrian's thorough planning. The music box sat on the nightstand, its presence both comforting and accusatory. What had Miguel hidden in its mechanisms? What truth was worth dying for? Through the wall, she could hear Sophia's gentle breathing. Mateo mumbled something in his sleep. Her children, somehow peaceful, despite everything being ripped away. She thought of Adrian's words, "Until I cut off the head that's hunting you," and shivered at their implications. The chapel bells chimed softly, marking time's relentless march. Ava sat on the edge of the bed, watching Brooklyn's lights twinkle beyond the bulletproof glass. Somewhere out there, Victor's men searched for answers. Somewhere, Miguel's secrets waited to be uncovered. And here, in this strange sanctuary, a dangerous man knelt in prayer while her children slept under his protection. Dawn crept over Brooklyn, finding Eva curled in an unfamiliar armchair. She'd managed perhaps 3 hours of fitful sleep, jerking awake at every distant siren. The safe house's thick windows filtered the morning light, casting long shadows across the pristine floors. At precisely 7:15, Bianca knocked softly. "Breakfast in 10, she said through the door. "I'll help with the kids." Ava roused Mateo and Sophia, their sleepy confusion giving way to wide-eyed wonder at their surroundings. Bianca guided them through the morning routine with military precision wrapped in maternal warmth. She showed them the bathroom's step stool, helped with toothpaste, and demonstrated the proper way to wash hands while counting to 20. In the kitchen, Bianca prepared oatmeal with brown sugar for Sophia, who picked at it cautiously until the first sweet bite won her over. Mateo requested toast, munching quietly while his eyes darted between the windows and doors. Eva recognized the vigilance in his posture, the same alertness she'd developed after Miguel's death. "Now," Bianca said, clearing dishes, "security briefing." She demonstrated the new lock codes on a keypad, making it into a game for the children. Red button twice, then green, then your special number. Like Simon says, but more important. "Why do we need codes?" Mateo asked, his voice small but steady. "Because we're careful," Bianca answered simply, like looking both ways before crossing the street. Adrian's entrance cut through the domestic scene like a blade. His charcoal suit was immaculate, hair still damp from the shower. He maintained a careful distance, positioning himself by the counter rather than joining them at the table. The shift in atmosphere was immediate. Even Sophia sensed it, pressing closer to Ava's side. "We need to discuss your husband's effects," Adrian said, his tone businesslike. Anything he carried regularly, especially in the days before the accident. Ava noticed he didn't sugarcoat the word accident, despite the children's presence. "Why tell me now about Miguel's involvement?" "Because you deserve truth, even when it's ugly." Adrian's posture shifted slightly. "I operate differently than Victor. No drugs, no trafficking. I don't create addicts or slaves." His jaw tightened. "And I never take lovers." Eva couldn't suppress a skeptical laugh. "Right. The feared Moretti, celibate. My mother's dying command. Never give enemies that leverage. I've made it my own strategic choice." His eyes met hers, unflinching. I'm a virgin, Ms. Rios. Not for purity, for control. The confession hung in the air, startling in its rawness. Eva studied him, searching for deception and finding none. This dangerous man, untouched, it seemed impossible, yet explained the rigid distance he maintained. Miguel's belongings, he prompted again. Eva retrieved her husband's wallet and wedding ring from her coat pocket. The leather was still worn to the shape of Miguel's hip, the gold band dulled from years of wear. She placed them on the counter, conscious of the music box's weight still hidden in her pocket. Something held her back from revealing it. Instinct, mistrust, or simple self-preservation. Adrian examined the items methodically, his fingers tracing the wallet's creases. The morning stretched on, punctuated by phone calls and security updates. Bianca kept the children occupied with books and puzzles, maintaining a semblance of normalcy. At 10 a.m., Adrian's phone rang. His expression darkened as he listened, knuckles whitening around the device. Victor's men have Rosa. Eva's heart stopped. Miguel's sister, the florist? Taken from her shop in Brighton Beach an hour ago. Adrian's voice was clipped. They're using her as leverage. I'm going with you, Eva said immediately. Absolutely not. She's my family. Eva stood, hands flat on the counter. I'm not some piece of furniture you can lock away for safekeeping. Adrian's jaw worked silently. The children watched the exchange with wide eyes, Bianca hovering protectively nearby. You stay in the car, he finally said. You follow every order exactly, one deviation and you're out. Agreed. The next hour was a flurry of preparation. Bianca helped Eva into a bulletproof vest, concealing it under a coat. The children clung to her legs, sensing the tension. Mama. Mateo's voice wavered. Eva knelt, holding both her children close. I'm going to help Aunt Rosa. Bianca will keep you safe. Be brave for me. Sophia's lower lip trembled, but Mateo nodded solemnly. Eva kissed their foreheads, breathing in their scent, memorizing their warmth. At 11:30 a.m., the convoy assembled, 3 black SUVs with tinted windows. Adrian directed Eva into the middle vehicle, positioning himself in the front passenger seat. As they pulled away from the safe house, Eva slipped her hand into her coat pocket, fingers closing around the music box. Its weight felt significant now, a potential bargaining chip in whatever game lay ahead. The city scrolled past the bulletproof windows. Eva watched Brooklyn change block by block, from Adrian's affluent territory through industrial zones toward Brighton Beach's worn edges. The music box pressed against her ribs with each turn, a constant reminder of unspoken secrets. Adrian spoke quietly with his driver, checking positions with the other vehicles. His efficiency was cold, practiced, so different from the man she'd glimpsed praying in the chapel. Eva studied his reflection in the side mirror, wondering how many other contradictions lay beneath his controlled surface. The convoy turned onto Brighton Beach Avenue, Russian signs replacing Spanish ones. Eva thought of Rosa's little flower shop, its cheerful window displays now probably shattered, her sister-in-law's warm laugh, her steady hands arranging stems, her gentle way with Sophia, all threatened because of Miguel's secrets. The music box felt heavier, with each passing block. Eva's fingers traced its edges through the coat fabric, wondering if its hidden message was worth the price they were all paying. The SUVs rolled to a stop near Rosa's flower shop at 12:05 p.m. Broken glass glittered on the sidewalk and trampled roses bled red petals across concrete. Eva's heart clenched at the sight of the destroyed storefront. Adrian adjusted his suit jacket, face settling into an expressionless mask. Stay in the car, he ordered. Windows are bulletproof. Duck if I signal. Through the tinted glass, Eva watched him stride toward the shop entrance. His movements were precise, measured, a predator perfectly aware of his own lethal capabilities. 2 of his men flanked him, while others established a perimeter. Victor's lieutenant emerged from the shop, dragging Rosa by the arm. Eva's sister-in-law looked disheveled but unharmed, though fear had drained all color from her face. 2 more Bratva thugs followed, weapons visible under their jackets. Simple trade, Adrian called out, voice carrying across the street. The ledger for the florist. The lieutenant sneered. Show first. Adrian produced a leather-bound book. Eva realized it must be fake, a prop to spring the trap. Her fingers found the music box in her pocket, wondering if the real evidence lay within. Release her, Adrian said, then verify. Rosa stumbled forward as the lieutenant shoved her, but instead of letting her reach safety, he suddenly grabbed her hair, yanking her back. A gun appeared, pressed against the shop's glass door. The change in Adrian was instant and terrifying. His composed demeanor shattered into pure violence. He moved like liquid mercury, closing the distance before the lieutenant could squeeze the trigger. The crack of breaking bone echoed as Adrian snapped the man's wrist, spinning him into a human shield as gunfire erupted. Eva ducked instinctively, but her eyes remained fixed on the scene. Adrian's efficiency was brutal, yet controlled. He disabled rather than killed, even as chaos erupted. When a young mother and children appeared on the sidewalk, he adjusted his aim higher, ensuring stray bullets wouldn't find innocent targets. The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes. Victor's men lay groaning but alive, their weapons kicked away. Rosa ran to the middle SUV, tears streaming down her face as Eva pulled her inside. "Go," Adrian commanded, sliding into the passenger seat. The convoy peeled away, leaving sirens wailing in the distance. Rosa collapsed against Eva, whole body trembling. "Miguel!" she whispered between sobs. "He tried to warn me, said the proof was where music hides the math. I didn't understand." Eva's hand instinctively pressed against the music box in her pocket. The piece finally clicked, numbers hidden in the mechanical tune, perhaps in the spring mechanism, marked with that tiny M. She kept silent, studying Adrian's profile. His knuckles were split, blood drying on his sleeve. But his expression had returned to that careful neutrality. The drive back was tense, filled with Rosa's quiet crying and Adrian's low voice coordinating cleanup through his phone. Eva weighed her choices. The music box felt like a burning secret against her ribs. But she needed certainty before sharing it. Needed to know Adrian wouldn't use its contents to hurt more people, to escalate the violence she'd witnessed. They reached the penthouse at 1:40 p.m. Adrian's private medic was waiting, immediately taking Rosa to check for injuries. Bianca appeared to guide Matteo and Sofia toward their room for afternoon naps, deftly deflecting their questions about Aunt Rosa's tears. "My office. Now!" Adrian's tone left no room for argument. Eva followed him into the book-lined space. He closed the door, then turned to face her with barely contained frustration. "You're hiding something." "You're dangerous," she countered. "I could have killed them all. I didn't." "For tactical reasons or moral ones?" "Both." He ran a hand through his hair, disheveling its usual perfect order. "I have lines I don't cross, but I need the truth to protect your family." "And what happens to that truth once you have it? More violence? More broken bones and bullet holes?" "Only what's necessary to end Victor's threat permanently." Eva crossed her arms. "That's not good enough." They stared each other down, neither willing to yield. The afternoon sun cast harsh shadows across Adrian's face, highlighting the tension in his jaw. "Midnight," he finally said. "The chapel. We'll talk privately after the children are asleep. You'll answer every question honestly?" "Yes, and you'll do the same." Eva nodded slowly. "Agreed." The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed twice, marking the hour. Through the office door, Eva heard Rosa's voice mingling with the children's. Already steadier than before, Adrian moved to his desk, picking up his phone to resume damage control. Eva lingered a moment, watching him work. The careful way he held his injured hand, the precise organization of papers before him, the rigid control he maintained, even now. She thought of his earlier violence, so explosive yet calculated, and the gentleness he'd shown her children. The music box weighed heavy in her pocket as she left the office. 8 hours until midnight. 8 hours to decide if she could trust this man who dealt in both brutality and mercy, who broke bones and saved lives in the same breath. 8 hours to determine if sharing Miguel's last secret would lead to justice or more bloodshed. The evening settled into an unexpected domesticity that felt both comforting and surreal. At 7, Bianca laid out steaming plates of pasta, her movements efficient but gentle. The scent of garlic and basil filled the dining room as she launched into an animated story about her cousin's pet duck that had learned to dance. Sophia's giggles burst forth, bright and unexpected in the tense atmosphere. "Did the duck wear shoes?" she asked between bites of penny. "Little red rubber boots," Bianca confirmed with a wink, making the girl laugh harder. Eva noticed Adrian's careful observation of them all. He sat straight-backed in his chair, barely touching his food, his eyes tracking every movement. His attention lingered especially on Matteo, who kept slipping from his seat to check the dining room's French doors were locked, then the kitchen entrance, then back again. "Matteo, eat before it gets cold," Eva said softly. "Just making sure," he mumbled, sliding back into his chair. Adrian stood without a word, disappearing upstairs. Minutes later, Eva heard the distinct sound of drilling. When he returned, his sleeve cuffs were dusty. I installed nightlights in the children's suite, he stated simply. Motion activated. They'll see any shadows clearly. Ava met his eyes across the table, recognizing the thoughtfulness behind this practical comfort. He'd noticed Mateo's fear of the dark without anyone mentioning it. As 9 o'clock approached, Rosa retired to her guarded guest room, still shaken from the day's events. Ava guided her children through their bedtime routine, helping Sophia splash in a bubble bath, while Mateo sat nearby, unwilling to let his sister out of sight. "Look, Mama, I'm a mermaid," Sophia declared, flicking her foam-covered arms. "The prettiest mermaid in Brooklyn," Ava agreed, working shampoo through dark curls while keeping her voice steady, normal. After bath time, Mateo clutched his new pirate book, one that had appeared mysteriously on his pillow, likely another of Adrian's quiet provisions. They curled together on his bed, Sophia tucked against Eva's side as she read about swashbuckling adventures and buried treasure. The crew knew their captain would protect them through any storm. Eva read, her throat tight with unspoken emotion. She closed the book gently. "Time for sleep, my loves." "Are we really safe here?" Mateo whispered. Eva smoothed his hair back. "We're safe tonight. I promise." She kissed both their foreheads, watching the new nightlight cast a soft glow across their faces. At 11:55, Eva descended the chapel stairs, each step echoing in the vast space. Dozens of candles flickered in wall sconces, casting dancing shadows across the restored wooden pews. Adrian stood near the altar, his usual suit jacket absent, shirt sleeves rolled to reveal powerful forearms. "You came," he said simply. Eva approached slowly, one hand in her pocket where the music box rested. "I have conditions." "Name them." "No innocent casualties, no using trafficking victims as leverage, and Rosa stays protected, no matter what we find." Adrian's jaw tightened. "You think I'd harm trafficking victims?" "I think you'd do whatever necessary to win. I need your word that these lines won't be crossed." He moved closer, candlelight catching the planes of his face. "I swear on my mother's grave, no collateral damage, no trafficking victims involved. Rosa." "Under my protection, always." He spoke each promise separately, with weight and intention. Ava withdrew the music box, its metal cool against her palm. Miguel marked it with an M. "I think there's something hidden in the mechanism." They bent together over the small box, fingers brushing as they examined it. Adrian found the hidden catch, and the bottom panel slid free. There, wrapped carefully in waxy paper, was a tiny micro SD card. Adrian's private server took seconds to decrypt the files. Numbers filled the screen, dates, amounts, account transfers. Ava watched his expression darken as he scrolled through Victor's extensive criminal network. "Wait," he said suddenly, voice sharp. His finger traced a pattern of transfers. "These accounts, they're linked to the St. Christopher's Foundation." "What's that?" "A Moretti charity. Clean money, legitimate operations, helping at-risk youth." His fingers flew across the keyboard. "But someone's been skimming funds, redirecting them through shell companies to finance Victor's assassination program." Eva leaned closer. "Someone inside your organization." "Someone with high-level access, administrative codes, financial oversight." His face had gone deadly still. "Someone I trusted." The implications hung heavy in the candlelit air. Before either could speak, a harsh electronic wail cut through the silence. Adrian's phone lit up with security alerts as alarms blared from the floors above. "Backstairs," he snapped, already moving. "Admin code breach." The sanctuary's peace shattered as they raced toward the spiral staircase, the music box and its damning evidence abandoned on the altar behind them. The traitor had made their move. The alarms pierced through the penthouse as Adrian's expression turned lethal. He gripped Ava's arm, moving with controlled urgency. "Nursery, now! Get Rosa and the kids behind the panic room door." His voice was steel, wrapped in velvet. "Do not open for anyone but me or Bianca." Eva ran, heart thundering. Behind her, Adrian moved like a predator through shadow, Luca materializing at his side with weapons drawn. They cleared corners with practiced precision, while Eva focused on reaching her children. The kids were already awake, Mateo standing protectively by his sister's bed. Rosa huddled near them, face pale in the nightlight's glow. "Come, quickly," Eva whispered, ushering them toward the reinforced panic room door. Sophia whimpered but stayed quiet, clutching her brother's hand. Once inside, Eva engaged the locks, watching the security feed on a small monitor. Through grainy camera views, she saw Adrian and Luca converge on the server closet. A figure emerged, Enzo Valenti, Adrian's trusted advisor since childhood. Eva's breath caught as she saw the flash drive in his hand. Going somewhere, brother? Adrian's voice carried through the feed, deadly calm. Enzo's smile was all teeth. You were always too rigid, Adrian. All these rules, these lines you won't cross. It makes you weak, predictable. While Victor offers what? Evolution? Adrian's laugh held no humor. Through trafficking? Through killing civilians? Through adapting, the world changes. You're still playing by your mother's dying wishes like a good little boy. Enzo's hand moved toward his jacket. The fight exploded in a blur of violence. Enzo was fast, but Adrian was faster. They crashed into walls, trading brutal strikes. Eva covered Sophia's eyes but couldn't look away herself as Adrian disarmed Enzo with a move that should have broken his arm. The gun skittered across the floor. Adrian had a clear shot now, his own weapon trained on Enzo's heart. The childhood friends locked eyes, decades of history crackling between them. Do it, Enzo taunted. Prove you're not soft. Adrian's finger tightened on the trigger. One breath. Two. Then he lowered the gun slightly. Luca, the utility closet. Steel door, no vents. His voice was arctic. Bianca, call Jensen's team. Full system sweep. They zip-tied Enzo and locked him in the cramped space, his mocking laughter cut off by the heavy door. Adrian stood motionless for a long moment, shoulders rigid with contained fury. Eva watched it all, understanding blooming. His rules weren't chains, they were the boundaries that kept him human. That made him different from Victor and men like Enzo who saw mercy as weakness. Perimeter secure, Bianca reported crisply. Double patrols posted, tech team en route. Adrian nodded once. The children? Safe in the panic room with Eva and Rosa. Keep them there until the sweep is complete. He turned and walked away, steps measured but heavy. Eva waited until Bianca gave the all clear before leading her shaken family back to their rooms. She hugged them close, whispering reassurances until their breathing steadied in sleep. The chapel beckoned below, its candles still flickering. Eva found Adrian there, standing where they'd examined the music box barely an hour ago. His knuckles were split, blood drying dark against his skin. He didn't turn as she approached, but his shoulders tensed, recognizing her footsteps. When she reached his side, the raw emotion rolling off him was almost tangible. The kids? He asked roughly. Sleeping again. Rosa's with them. Enzo helped raise Mateo's age in the security protocols. He knew exactly how to... Adrian's voice cracked. He braced his hands against the altar, head bowed. I trusted him with everything except my vow. And he would have... But he didn't, Eva said softly. You stopped him. By luck. By minutes. His breath shuddered out. If we hadn't found the ledger tonight... Eva moved closer, drawn by the pain radiating from him. This man who could kill without blinking but chose not to. Who installed nightlights and left pirate books. Who fought like a demon to protect children not his own. His hand came up, cupping the back of her head with surprising gentleness. Their foreheads touched, his skin fever hot against hers. Eva's fingers curled into his shirt, feeling his heart hammer beneath. I will end this, he whispered, the words a prayer and a promise. Victor, the corruption, all of it. The heat between them was magnetic, electric. His lips hovered a breath from hers, but he didn't close the distance. They stood suspended in that moment of almost, both trembling with adrenaline and something deeper. Then Adrian stepped back, his hand falling away. Eva felt the loss of contact like a physical ache. Without another word, they separated, leaving the candlelit chapel and its weight of unspoken things behind. Upstairs, Eva paused in the children's doorway, watching their peaceful faces. Adrian's voice echoed in her mind. I will end this. She believed him. More than that, she was starting to believe in him. This complex man with his rigid rules and gentle hands, who could have killed his betrayer, but chose mercy instead. The night settled around them, guards moving in practice patterns through the halls. In his locked closet, Enzo waited in silence. Somewhere in the city, Victor plotted his next move. But for now, in this moment, Eva's family was safe, and that was enough. Sunlight crept through bulletproof glass as Eva jolted awake in the safe house's living room. She dozed off during her watch shift, the music box clutched in her lap. Across the room, Bianca maintained her vigilant post, checking feeds while Luca patrolled the perimeter. The kids were still sleeping, exhausted from the night's chaos. Rosa had finally settled too, curled protectively near their door. The only sounds were soft breathing and the distant hum of the city coming alive. At precisely 8:15, the elevator pinged. Adrian emerged with a woman in a black hijab, her laptop bag slung across one shoulder. Her movements were precise, professional. "Eva, this is Noor," Adrian said. "Our external security consultant." Noor gave a brief nod, already moving to the server room. "Let's see what damage your snake did to the systems." For the next hour, Noor's fingers flew across multiple screens while she dissected Enzo's infiltration. Eva brought her coffee, watching the complex code scroll past. "He was good," Noor muttered, "but sloppy in his rush. I've quarantined his backdoors and restored proper protocols." She glanced at Adrian. "The card data is clean, but you won't like where it leads." She pulled up a map centered on the Brooklyn Navy Yard. "Victor's using this warehouse as a holding facility for trafficked women. The ledger shows regular payments for storage and transport. He's keeping them as insurance against rivals." Eva's hands clenched. "We have to get them out." "It's not that simple," Adrian began. "Yes, it is." Eva stood, fierce despite her exhaustion. "Those women are someone's daughters, sisters, mothers, like Rosa, like me. We can't leave them there." Adrian studied her for a long moment. "Today, then. But you stay in the command vehicle with Noor. If anything goes wrong, Luca takes you and the children to the backup location Bianca's prepared." "I can help." "No." His voice softened. "I need to focus on the mission, not worry about your safety. Please." The please surprised her. Eva nodded reluctantly. They spent the next hour in careful preparation. Bianca checked weapons while Noor mapped entry points and camera positions. Luca coordinated with Adrian's street teams for containment. At 9:45, they moved to the garage. The kids hugged Eva tight, scared but trying to be brave as Bianca led them to a separate vehicle. Eva found herself in the lead SUV's backseat beside Adrian. As they waited for the convoy to form up, the air between them grew thick with unspoken things. "Why the vow?" she asked softly. "The real reason?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Intimacy is vulnerability. If I'm compromised, there are no lovers to threaten, no one to use as leverage." His fingers flexed on his knee. "And I've never wanted anyone I couldn't." He trailed off. "Couldn't what?" "Destroy." The word fell heavy between them. "If necessary. To protect the family, the business." His eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. "Until now." Eva's breath caught. "Is that why you keep your distance? Because you couldn't hurt me if you had to?" "Because I would burn cities to keep you safe," he whispered. "You and the children. It terrifies me." "You terrify me," Eva admitted. "And I think that's why I trust you, because you're honest about your monsters." Adrian's hand twitched toward hers, then withdrew. "I won't touch you," he said roughly. "Not unless you ask." The weight of that promise settled over them as the convoy pulled out. Eva watched his profile, understanding the cost of his control, the depth of his isolation. Noor's voice crackled over comms at 10:05. "I'm in their system. You have a 10-minute window of camera blackout starting now." The SUVs rolled toward the Navy Yard, early morning sun glinting off their dark windows. Eva felt the familiar flutter of fear in her stomach, but it was different now. She wasn't alone anymore. She watched Adrian check his weapons with precise movements. His face had shifted into that cold mask she'd first seen at the bodega, but now she knew what lay beneath it. The man who prayed in candlelight, who noticed when children needed nightlights, who chose mercy over vengeance. "Stay in the vehicle," he reminded her quietly, "no matter what you hear." "I know." Eva hesitated, then added, "Be careful." Something softened briefly in his eyes before the mask returned. He gave a short nod as they approached the warehouse district. Luca positioned their SUV behind a stack of shipping containers with clear sightlines to the target building. Noor's fingers danced across her laptop, monitoring their window of opportunity. 8 minutes of blackout remaining, she reported. Guards are on standard patrol routes, no sign they've detected the camera freeze. Eva watched Adrian's team deploy with military precision. Her heart hammered as he disappeared into the shadows of the warehouse. All she could do now was wait and pray to whatever God watched over monsters who chose to be men and women who chose to trust them. Through the tablet's feed, Eva watched Adrian's team flow like black water through the warehouse. Her fingers dug into the leather seat as he moved with lethal grace, disarming guards with precise strikes. No killing shots, just efficient takedowns that left bodies groaning but breathing. "First cage, clear," Noor reported, fingers flying across her keyboard. 7 women being moved to van 1. Ava's throat tightened as she saw the women emerge, some barely older than teenagers, stumbling on weak legs. Adrian's men wrapped them in blankets, guided them with gentle hands that seemed at odds with their tactical gear. Second section breached, Noor continued. 4 more, wait. She frowned. Something's wrong. Power fluctuation in the east wing. Through the feed, Eva saw Adrian pause, head tilted as if listening. He barked an order, his team immediately shifting formation. Then the screen erupted in static. A deep boom rattled the SUV's windows. Eva lurched forward as debris and dust bloomed from the warehouse's eastern wall. Adrian! She gasped. Luca's arm shot out, pushing her back into her seat. Stay down! The air filled with concrete dust, coating the windshield in gray powder. Seconds stretched like hours. Eva's pulse roared in her ears. Through the settling debris, shapes emerged, Adrian's men escorting survivors to the vans. But where was he? Eyes on boss, Noor announced, relief evident. East exit. Adrian appeared through the dust cloud, carrying a woman whose leg bent at a wrong angle. His face and tactical vest were coated gray, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. He passed the injured woman to a medic, then turned back toward the building. All units report, he commanded, voice rough with dust. Status on survivors? 11 secured in van, came the response. 3 more incoming. Eva watched him work triage, refusing to let the medic near his own injuries until every survivor was attended to. A young woman with matted blonde hair clutched her wrist, blood seeping between her fingers. Adrian knelt beside her, producing a field bandage. Let me see, he said, gentler than Eva had ever heard him. His hands, capable of such violence, moved with careful precision as he wrapped the girl's wound. What's your name? Masha, she whispered. You're safe now, Masha. We'll get you to a doctor. He helped her into the last van, then finally looked toward their SUV. Their eyes met through the cracked windshield. Even at this distance, Eva saw the tension in his shoulders ease slightly. She pressed her palm to the glass, a silent acknowledgement. Incoming! Noor's warning snapped their attention to the tablet. Police choppers approached from the south. Move out, Adrian ordered. Standard. Scatter protocol. The convoy split smoothly, taking different routes back to various safe houses. Luca guided their SUV through side streets while Noor monitored police bands. Victor's men are feeding them a story about a gang territory dispute, Noor reported. No mention of trafficking. Adrian's jaw clenched. Of course! Can't admit his merchandise was liberated. He pulled out his phone, likely checking on the other vehicle's progress. Eva studied him in the rearview mirror. Blood had dried on his temple and he held himself carefully, likely hiding bruised ribs from the explosion. But his eyes remained sharp, alert. The women? She asked softly. Safe houses across 3 boroughs, he replied. Medical care, new papers, refugee assistance programs that don't ask questions. His voice hardened. Victor won't touch them again? At 11:10, they pulled into the safe house garage. Adrian insisted on personally checking every security measure before allowing Eva to exit the vehicle. As they rode the elevator up, Noor confirmed her work on her laptop. Ledger's been seeded to multiple encrypted drops, she said. Even if Victor finds one copy, he can't contain them all. His operation is exposed. Adrian nodded, but tension still radiated from him. As they stepped into the penthouse, his phone buzzed. Eva watched his face go absolutely still as he read the message. What is it? He turned the screen toward her. A text from Enzo's burner number. You took my queen. I'll take yours. Below it, a photo of Sophia's pink unicorn backpack, clearly taken that morning inside the penthouse. Eva's blood turned to ice. The kids, she gasped, already moving. Adrian caught her arm. Wait, Luca, full sweep. Noor, check every camera feed since we left. His voice was controlled fury. Someone else has access, someone inside. Eva trembled, remembering Sophia's sleepy smile that morning as Bianca helped her pack her favorite stuffed rabbit in that very backpack. The thought of hostile eyes watching that moment, calculating how to use her children against them. There with Bianca, Adrian reminded her, his hand warm on her shoulder. In the secondary location, multiple guards. His thumb brushed her collarbone, the first casual touch he'd initiated. But we're not staying here tonight. Luca returned from his sweep. House is clear now, boss, but I found this. He held up a cigarette butt in an evidence bag. Fresh, from the service stairwell. Marlboro Red, Adrian noted. Victor's brand. His phone buzzed again, another message from Enzo's number. Ava leaned close, reading over his shoulder. Did you really think I worked alone? The phone's harsh ring shattered the tension. Ava grabbed Adrian's arm as Bianca's voice crackled through the speaker, tight with urgency. Security breach. Marcus, the new guard, disappeared from camera 4 for 40 seconds. That's the extraction window, Adrian finished, already moving. Eva's heart stopped, then exploded into thundering panic. She bolted past him, bare feet silent on marble, mind screaming with images of empty beds and broken windows. She slammed their comb through the nursery door to find Matteo standing protectively in front of Sophia, his small face fierce. Both alive, both safe. Eva's knees nearly buckled as she gathered them close, breathing in Sophia's baby shampoo scent and Matteo's brave trembling. The photo, Adrian said from the doorway, studying the timestamp. It's from this morning, when they were playing by the windows. His jaw worked. A feint to draw us out. Rosa? Ava whispered, already knowing. They rushed to the guest room, the bathroom window gaped open, early autumn air whistling through the forced lock. No blood, no signs of struggle, just an empty room and Rosa's reading glasses folded neatly on the nightstand. Adrian's team swarmed the scene while Noor pulled up thermal imaging. 2 heat signatures moved through this maintenance shaft, she reported, indicating a blueprint. It connects to the air vent in the utility closet where we held Enzo. He planned this, Adrian said, voice deadly quiet. Used the vent system to escape and took Rosa as insurance. He turned to his phone, fingers flying. Initiating citywide asset freeze. Every property, front business, and shell company Victor owns goes into lockdown. Now. You promised she'd be safe! Eva's fear erupted into rage. She shoved Adrian's shoulder, hand striking solid muscle. You promised protection, and now my sister-in-law is gone because you couldn't kill your friend. Adrian caught her wrists, not roughly, but implacable. You're right, he said, shocking her. My mercy toward Enzo was weakness. This is my fault. His thumbs pressed gentle circles on her pulse points, at odds with the cold fury in his eyes. But I will fix it. He released her and barked orders. Bianca, take the children to Site 2 immediately. Full security detail, no stops. Luca, sweep the brownstone again before they arrive. Noor, monitor all traffic cams between here and Carroll Gardens. Eva knelt to help Matteo tie his shoes while Sophia clung to her neck. Mama's going to catch the bad men, she whispered, smoothing her daughter's hair. But you'll be safe with Bianca, okay? Remember our special word? Unicorn, Sophia mumbled. Their code word for real danger. If anyone tried to take them without using it, they should run and scream. That's right, baby, and what's Bianca's number? Matteo recited it perfectly, then asked, Are you coming later? Eva met Adrian's gaze over their heads. As soon as we can. Be brave for me? Matteo nodded, shoulders straight like his father's had been. Eva's heart cracked watching Bianca lead them away, Sophia's stuffed rabbit clutched tight. Once the elevator doors closed, Adrian touched her elbow. We need to move fast. Victor and Enzo will expect us to go to ground, protect the children. Instead, we'll bait them. They descended to the chapel, where morning light streamed through stained glass, painting the floor in jewel tones. Eva couldn't reconcile its peace with the violence thrumming through her veins. A public meeting, Adrian continued, pacing between pews. Prospect Park, 2:00. We offer to trade the original ledger for Rosa. But we'll bring a fake, Eva finished, catching his strategy. And while they're focused on us, my team hits Victor's last safe house in Gravesend. Adrian's smile was sharp. Where Rosa will likely be held, given its proximity to Brighton Beach. Eva studied the marble altar, remembering how she'd found him praying here that first night. Why the park? Why so public? Because Victor's ego won't let him resist a chance to humiliate me openly, to prove I've gone soft. Adrian's hand settled on her shoulder, warm through her thin shirt. He'll come himself. And Enzo? We'll be there to witness his triumph. Adrian's voice turned granite hard. I won't make the same mistake twice. They spent the next hour preparing. Eva memorized the layout of their meeting point while Adrian's team got into position. Noor created a convincing replica of the SD card, complete with fake data that would take hours to verify. At 12:05, Bianca texted confirmation. The children were secure in the Carroll Gardens brownstone, triple locked and guarded. Eva released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. They're safe, Adrian said quietly. Bianca would die before letting anyone touch them. I know. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, fighting shivers despite the warm day. I just keep thinking about Rosa. How scared she must be. Adrian stepped closer, not quite touching. Rosa is strong, like her sister-in-law. His eyes held hers. And I meant what I said about fixing this. I know that too. Ava surprised herself by reaching for his hand, his fingers interlaced with hers, calloused and certain. I was wrong to blame you. Mercy isn't weakness. Perhaps. His thumb traced her knuckles. But there are limits, lines that can't be crossed. His other hand cupped her cheek, barely touching. They crossed one when they threatened your children. The chapel air grew thick with unspoken things. Ava found herself swaying slightly closer, drawn by the heat in his eyes, the promise of violence wrapped in tenderness. His breath hitched. But the moment shattered as his phone buzzed. A message from Victor himself. Bring the real ledger, or we start removing Rosa's fingers, one every hour until you comply. Eva's grip tightened on Adrian's hand. He squeezed back once, then stepped away to check his weapon. 2:00, he said grimly. We end this today. The safe house chapel's peace shattered as Eva checked her borrowed Kevlar vest for the third time. Adrian moved behind her, fingers brushing her neck as he adjusted her comms earpiece. It needs to sit flush, he murmured, his touch lingering longer than necessary. The tiny device disappeared beneath her hair, his hands falling to her shoulders. Be careful out there, Eva whispered, turning to face him. I can't lose anyone else today. Adrian's eyes darkened. I haven't feared anything in years, he admitted. Not death, not pain, not loss. Until you. His thumb traced her jawline, featherlight. You and those children make me vulnerable in ways I'd forgotten were possible. A text from Bianca lit up both their phones. Brownstone secure, perimeter sensors active, kids settled with snacks and movies. They drove to Prospect Park in an unmarked sedan, deliberately average, no tinted windows or reinforced panels to draw attention. Noor's black van followed 3 cars back, her drone already mapping the meeting point from above. Remember, Adrian said as they parked, stay behind me. If shots fire, drop and roll left toward the stone bridge. His shoulder holster disappeared beneath a casual blazer. The drone will track any vehicles leaving the scene. The park buzzed with ordinary life. Joggers, dog walkers, kids on skateboards. Ava's hands trembled as she spotted Enzo approaching, with 2 men, his usual polish replaced by predatory focus. Show me, Enzo called, holding up his phone. On the screen, Rosa sat bound to a chair in what looked like a warehouse, Victor's gleaming watch visible as he held up today's newspaper. Adrian's voice carried across the grass. The ledger means nothing now. Copies are already scattered to multiple secure locations. He nodded to Noor, who stepped forward with a laptop. The only trade available is your recorded confession to an independent journalist. Live feed, no editing. Enzo's laugh held no humor. You've gone soft, brother. The gun appeared in his hand like a magic trick. All these rules, all this mercy, it makes you predictable. The first shot cracked the air like thunder. Adrian slammed Eva behind the stone bridge as screams erupted. Joggers dove for cover. A mother yanked her child behind a tree. Stay down, Adrian ordered, returning fire with precise bursts. Blood darkened his sleeve where a bullet had grazed him, but he moved like it was nothing, tracking Enzo's retreat. A white van screeched to the curb. Its side door rolled open to reveal Rosa, alive but bound, tear tracks cutting through her makeup. A phone live-streamed her face, broadcasting their choice. Pursue Enzo or save her. Adrian's curse was violent Italian, but his decision was instant. He sprinted for Rosa while his team laid covering fire, Ava close behind him. Clear! Noor shouted as they reached the van. Adrian sliced through Rosa's bonds while Eva checked for injuries. Split lip, bruised wrists, but breathing steady. I'm okay, Rosa gasped. They wanted me to see them hurt you both. Victor said it would be better than killing me quick. Enzo's voice carried from the tree line where he'd vanished. Victor sends his regards. He'll finish this properly. At the brownstone. Ava's blood froze. Before Adrian could respond, Bianca's voice crackled through their earpieces, tight with controlled panic. Motion sensors tripped on the south perimeter. 2 black SUVs, Bratva plates, just turned onto Union Street. How long? Adrian demanded, already running for their car. 3 minutes, maybe 4, until they reach us. I'm moving the kids to the panic room, but... Static cut through her words. Ava grabbed Adrian's arm. "The children!" "Will not be touched," he finished, voice deadly calm. He helped Rosa into the back seat, then peeled out of the parking lot. "Noor, coordinate with local assets. I want every route to Carroll Gardens monitored. Luca, meet us there with the tactical team." Eva's phone chimed, a photo from Bianca showing Matteo and Sofia safely inside the reinforced panic room, Sofia clutching her stuffed rabbit while Matteo held his sister's hand. The timestamp was less than a minute old. "They're safe for now," Eva breathed, showing Adrian the image at a red light. His jaw clenched as he studied their faces. "Victor's mistake," he said softly, was thinking he could use children as leverage against me. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "But he's never seen what happens when I truly lose control." Rosa leaned forward from the back seat, pressing a hand to Eva's shoulder. "Miguel always said you were the smart one, Eva, the survivor. But he also said you were fierce when cornered." "Like a mother wolf," Eva agreed, checking her borrowed weapon with steady hands. The comparison felt right. She'd run and hidden to protect her cubs, but now it was time to bare teeth. Adrian's eyes met hers briefly. "We have 3 minutes to reach them. Every second counts." He swerved around a delivery truck. "Victor won't expect us so fast. He'll want to savor his approach, make us suffer waiting." "His ego," Eva realized. "Just like in the park, he needs to gloat." "Exactly." Adrian's smile was all predator. "And that's how we'll finish this. His pride against our purpose." The brownstone appeared ahead, deceptively peaceful. 2 black SUVs idled at the corner, just as Bianca had warned. Through their earpieces, they heard her steady voice speaking to the children. "Remember what we practiced? Just like our drills. You're doing so well, staying so quiet." Adrian's Mercedes tore through Brooklyn streets, engine roaring as he took corners at speeds that made the tires screech. Blood soaked through his shirt sleeve, dripping onto the leather seat. Eva pressed her silk scarf against his wound, her prayers tumbling out in desperate Spanish. "Dios mío, por favor. Please, just let them be safe. I'll do anything. Go to church every Sunday, light 1,000 candles." "They're alive," Adrian said through gritted teeth, cutting across 3 lanes to make a turn. "Bianca would die before letting anyone touch them." Rosa braced herself in the back seat. "The entrance has cameras, right? They can't surprise us?" "Noor's already hacked in," Adrian confirmed, checking his phone at a red light. 2 hostels in the front hall, 3 more spreading through the first floor. Victor and Enzo haven't shown yet. Eva's phone buzzed. Another photo from Bianca. The kids were huddled in the corner of the panic room, Matteo wrapping Sofia in his jacket. The message read, "Room sealed. Oxygen for 6 hours. Trading fire with 2 targets." The brownstone looked peaceful when they pulled up, deceptively normal among its row of historic facades. But gunfire echoed inside, muffled by thick walls. "Stay behind me," Adrian ordered, checking his weapon. "Rosa, back entrance with Luca when he arrives. Eva—" "I'm with you," she said firmly. "No argument." His jaw clenched, but he nodded. They moved like shadows through the side gate, Adrian scanning each window. Inside, they found 2 bodies in the foyer, Bratva soldiers, expertly dropped by Bianca's shots. Bianca's voice came through their earpieces. "South Hall clear for now. They're trying to flank through the kitchen. Kids secure." They advanced carefully, Adrian checking each doorway. A bullet splintered the woodwork inches from Eva's head. Adrian yanked her back as Bianca returned fire from her position. "Come out, little saint!" Victor's accent rolled through the house. "Show us how the virgin Mafia prince handles real violence." Adrian's expression didn't change, but Eva felt him coil tighter, deadlier. They cleared the dining room, the study, working their way toward the kitchen where Victor's voice originated. When they reached the kitchen doorway, Victor stood waiting, Enzo at his shoulder. Both men held guns with casual arrogance. "Finally," Victor smiled, all teeth. "The man who never touches women? Tell me, does celibacy make you feel pure, or just prove you're too weak to handle real power?" "Power?" Adrian's voice was ice. "You traffic children. You hide behind hostages. That's not power. That's cowardice." Victor's smile vanished. He raised his gun, but Adrian was faster. The shot took Victor through his right hand, shattering bones and sending his weapon clattering across tile. Enzo lunged forward. Adrian's kick snapped his knee with a wet crack. But even falling, Enzo slashed out with a hidden blade, opening Adrian's forearm. Eva didn't think. She grabbed the music box from her pocket and swung hard, catching Enzo across the temple. He stumbled, giving Adrian the second he needed to disarm and restrain him. Victor tried crawling for his dropped gun. Adrian's boot came down on his wrist. "The mighty Victor Melnick," Adrian said softly. "Bleeding on my floor. What would your Bratva brothers say?" Sirens wailed in the distance. Noor's anonymous tip bringing cops with the ledger evidence. Adrian's cleanup team would arrive first, ready to deliver Victor and Enzo to Interpol's waiting arms. In the foyer, 20 minutes later, Eva cleaned Adrian's wounds with supplies from Bianca's medkit. His shoulder would need stitches, but the forearm was shallow. He caught her hand as she worked, pulling her closer until their foreheads touched. "You," he breathed, voice rough with emotion, "and only you, are mine." Eva's heart thundered. "Then prove it," she whispered back. "Without cages, without walls." Blood stained her fingers where they pressed against his bandages. Outside, car doors slammed as his extraction team arrived. Upstairs, Bianca was finally bringing the children out of the panic room, Sophia's stuffed rabbit clutched tight against her chest. Eva's hands shook slightly as she taped down the last bandage. Adrian caught them between his own, steadying her. His eyes held hers, intense and unguarded for the first time since that night in the bodega that felt like years ago. Luca appeared in the doorway. "Boss, transport's ready. Where do you want them?" "The international team Noor contacted," Adrian replied, not looking away from Eva. "They'll face charges for trafficking, money laundering, and attempted murder. Make sure they're secured separately." They could hear Sophia's voice upstairs, asking Bianca if the bad men were gone. Matteo's deeper tone answered instead. "Mom and Adrian stopped them like superheroes." Eva's breath caught. Adrian's fingers tightened on hers. "The kids need to see you're safe," he said softly. She nodded, but didn't move yet. "We all need to feel safe." "I swear it," he whispered, the words falling like a vow between them. "Whatever comes next, you'll never be caged. Any walls around you will be ones you choose." Footsteps thundered down the stairs. Sophia first, then Matteo, both launching themselves at Eva. She caught them, breathing in their familiar scents, feeling their small hearts race against her chest. Adrian stepped back to give them space, but Sophia reached out and caught his sleeve. "You're hurt," she said, eyes wide at the bandages. "Just a scratch," he assured her, voice gentling the way it only did for her. "Nothing that won't heal." The brownstone settled into evening quiet, police tape removed, and curious neighbors retreating behind drawn curtains. In the kitchen, Adrian moved with careful precision despite his bandaged shoulder, cracking eggs into a bowl, while Sophia perched on a step stool beside him. "Can I stir?" she asked, clutching her wooden spoon like a wand. Gentle circles, he guided, his hand shadowing hers. Just like that. Eva leaned in the doorway watching. The man who'd taken down Victor hours ago now showed infinite patience, teaching her 4-year-old how to make scrambled eggs. Matteo sat at the counter, homework spread out but forgotten as he watched them cook. "More cheese?" Adrian asked him. When Matteo nodded, he added another handful of shredded cheddar. The domesticity of it struck Eva hard. This glimpse of what normal could feel like, even with danger still simmering beyond their walls. Adrian caught her eye, something soft and uncertain in his expression. "I meant every promise," he said quietly, as Sophia concentrated on stirring. "No collateral damage. Rose's protection guaranteed. She's already at a secure location outside the city, and now a new vow. No more secrets between us." He poured the eggs into the waiting pan, helped Sophia scrape every drop with her spoon. "There's something you should know about my mother." Eva moved closer, drawn by the raw edge in his voice. "She died in crossfire, meant for my father," Adrian continued, mechanically folding the eggs as they cooked. "I was 14. She made me swear, with her last breath, never to drag an innocent into the line of fire, not unless I could make her my wife and shield her with everything I am." The eggs finished cooking. He plated them with careful movements, adding toast points and fresh fruit for the kids. "That's why you always say you never had a wife," Eva realized. "I've never found someone I could trust with my life," he admitted. "Someone who could handle this world but stay human. Someone who understood restraint isn't weakness, it's survival." He touched her cheek with gentle fingers. "Until now." They ate together, Adrian answering Matteo's careful questions about security systems while Sophia decorated her toast with elaborate fruit patterns. By 7:30, both kids had crashed on the living room couch, the gentle murmur of cartoons washing over them. Eva covered them with soft blankets, kissing their foreheads. When she straightened, Adrian stood close behind her, radiating heat. "Come upstairs," he asked softly. Her pulse jumped. "Yes." In the master bedroom, he kissed her with exquisite control, letting her set the pace. His hands framed her face like she was precious, irreplaceable. When she tugged his shirt up, he helped her remove it, revealing the bandages and scars beneath. "Are you sure?" he whispered against her mouth. "I trust you," she answered, and felt him shudder. He laid her on the bed with reverent care, asking permission at each step. Their clothes fell away slowly, his touch growing bolder as she encouraged him. He produced protection without being asked, letting her see his responsibility matched his desire. Every move was consensual, every escalation confirmed. He worshipped her body with the focus he brought to everything, but this was tender, not calculating. When she gasped his name, his control finally cracked. They came together in waves, his careful restraint transformed into passionate protection. Afterward, he held her close, stroking her hair. She traced the fresh bandage on his forearm, thinking of how he'd taken that cut defending her. "I don't want to live in fear," she whispered into the dim room. His arms tightened fractionally. "There's only one way to end this cycle permanently." His voice was rough with emotion. "Make this official, unassailable. Let me claim you publicly, shield you completely." "As your wife?" The word felt weighty, significant. "As my everything," he corrected. "My reason for restraint. My proof that control and passion can coexist." She propped herself up to see his face, finding raw honesty in his expression. This dangerous man who'd killed to protect her, who cooked eggs for her children, who'd waited years for someone worthy of breaking his vow. He offered not possession, but partnership. "The danger won't vanish," he warned, "but you'll never face it alone." Eva thought of Matteo checking doors, of Sophia's nightmares, of Adrian installing nightlights and remembering favorite foods. She thought of his rules, his discipline, his fierce protection of innocence. The clock on the nightstand read 9:10 p.m. Outside, his security teams patrolled the perimeter. Downstairs, her children slept peacefully for the first time in days. And here, in this quiet room, Eva traced patterns on Adrian's skin and considered his offer of a different kind of safety, one built on trust and choice rather than fear and force. Morning light filtered through the chapel's stained glass, casting jeweled shadows across the stone floor. At precisely 10 hours a.m., Eva descended the stairs from the penthouse, finding Adrian waiting in the quiet sanctuary. He stood near the altar, hands clasped behind his back, still wearing the bandage on his forearm from yesterday's fight. The chapel had transformed from a place of secrets to something sacred, their refuge in the storm. The candles from their midnight confrontation were replaced with fresh ones, unlit but ready. Someone, probably Rosa, had placed fresh flowers in simple vases along the pews. "The kids are having breakfast with Bianca," Eva said softly, her voice carrying in the hushed space. "Rosa's finally sleeping properly." Adrian nodded, turning to face her. His usual mask of control slipped, revealing something vulnerable beneath. "I need to ask you something," he said, "and I want you to understand exactly what I'm offering." Eva moved closer, drawn by the rare uncertainty in his tone. Morning sun caught his profile, highlighting the tension in his jaw. "In my world, there are very few absolutes," he continued. "But marriage, a true marriage, not a paper arrangement, that's untouchable. No one in the families would dare target a made man's wife. It's one of our oldest laws." "You're talking about protection through marriage," Eva said carefully. "Yes, and no." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd never seen before. "Protection is part of it. You'd be untouchable. The kids, too, legally adopted if you agree, but this isn't just strategy." He closed the distance between them, taking her hands in his. The touch was gentle, at odds with the calluses she could feel on his palms. "I never had a wife," he said, voice unsteady for the first time since she'd known him. "But I want you, Eva Rios, not as a cover, as my family, my partner, the one person who sees past the monster to the man." Eva's breath caught. She searched his face, finding raw honesty in his eyes. "Your world is dangerous," she said. "I need guarantees." "Name them." "Legal. Safeguards for Matteo and Sophia first. Ironclad protection, trust funds, everything documented through legitimate channels." Adrian nodded immediately. "Already being drawn up. What else?" "Joint decisions about the syndicate's charitable operations. No more shadow accounts or skimming. Everything transparent, at least between us." "Done. Noor's already restructuring the systems." Eva squared her shoulders. "And a line that never moves. No trafficking tolerated by any Moretti affiliate, ever. Anyone who breaks that rule answers directly to you. Adrian's expression hardened with approval. Watch, he said, pulling out his phone. He speed-dialed Noor, putting it on speaker. Boss? Noor's voice echoed in the chapel. Implementing Protocol 0 regarding trafficking, effective immediately. You have executive authority to enforce compliance across all affiliates. Any violations come straight to me. Uploading the order now, Noor confirmed. Time-stamped and logged. Want me to copy Mrs. Rios on all reports? Adrian looked at Eva, eyebrow raised in question. She nodded. Yes, he told Noor. Full access. He ended the call and produced a small box from his pocket. Inside wasn't a typical engagement ring, but a simple platinum band with tiny etchings. Protection symbols, Eva realized, mixed with what looked like children's initials. I had it made last night, he said quietly. Your choice, Eva. Always your choice. She took the ring, examining the delicate markings. You really mean this? All of it? Every word. He touched her cheek. You make me better. Stronger because I have more to protect, not weaker because I have something to lose. Eva slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. By afternoon, the chapel had transformed. Rose's flowers now graced every surface, and Sophia wore a crooked flower crown that matched her sunny smile. Matteo stood tall in a new suit, holding the rings with solemn responsibility. Bianca and Luca flanked the doors like honored guards rather than security. Noor set up discreet cameras to document everything legally. The ceremony was brief but meaningful. They exchanged vows that balanced pragmatism with genuine feeling, acknowledging both the dangers they faced and the strength they'd found together. To the world, I am a weapon, Adrian promised, his voice carrying clearly through the chapel. To you and the kids, I will only ever be a home. Eva's response was equally powerful. I choose this life, these responsibilities, this family we've built, not from fear but from trust. The afternoon mellowed into evening, the gathering moving to the penthouse balcony. At 6:45 p.m., the city spread before them in shades of amber and gold, their guarded domain peaceful for the moment. Matteo sat cross-legged near Adrian, practicing the sailing knots Adrian had started teaching him, using the cast on Adrian's forearm as an impromptu practice post. His small fingers worked carefully, tongue stuck out in concentration. Sophia had claimed Eva's lap, methodically braiding and unbraiding her mother's dark hair with the patient focus of a 4-year-old. Each time she finished a section, she would beam up at Adrian for approval. Eva leaned back against her husband's chest, the words still new but fitting, and felt his arm secure around her waist. His wedding band caught the dying light when he reached to correct one of Matteo's knots, the metal warm from his skin. They watched their city together, this family forged in fire and sealed by choice. Below, their guards maintained their vigil. Above, the first stars emerged. Here on their balcony, they had carved out something rare and precious, a love strong enough to survive their dangerous world while remaining tender enough to heal its wounds.